on in Mojo, Mr. McLeod Mondaya, Mr. McLeod here, and today's lesson is going to be on plural pronoun inflections for VTI words. So today's lesson we're going to be learning how to talk about us, you all, they or them, and we're all going to be verbing inanimate objects. That's what this whole unit is about. So first we're going to take a refresher in pronouns in Nishnaabemwin. So pronouns are words that take the place of nouns. For example, I, me, you, us, it, etc. In the last lesson, we learned that there are 9 pronouns that Mr. McLeod knows of in Nipissing Nishnaabemwin, and we covered 3 of those 9. So third person singular, first person singular, second person singular. In this current lesson, we will be covering 4. That will take us up to 7 of the 9 pronouns. We will not focus on the last 2 in this course, just because they're a little complicated to explain, and so yeah, we're just going to move on from there. These 7 will be probably what you use most in your speaking as learners. So in our last lesson, we learned about Nishnaabemwin uses prefixes ndo for I or me sentences, and g or gdo for you sentences. So when you're talking about whomever you're speaking to, like you are doing this, you are doing that. We also learned that third person singular, she or he, is already built into the verb, so it needs no edits for inflection, except for the VTI-aawans. Those need to extend their an ending to a double an ending, like our VTI-4s. Today's lesson will focus on the plural versions of all the pronouns covered in the previous lesson. So we'll be pluralizing each pronoun by using the prefixes from our previous lesson and corresponding suffixes attached to the end of our verbs. So what we're doing today is we're just slapping on suffixes to what we learned yesterday. So here's a VTI paradigm of what's been covered so far. So as you can see here, I or me has an n sound in front, you has a g sound in front, she or he doesn't have a prefix at all because it's built into the verb. Then we would put in our tense markers here, gi for past, we for indefinite future, ga or da for definite future, and da for modal. Our VTI words would go here, and then so our plural pronoun suffix for this stuff here would go here, and then if our inanimate objects are pluralized, then we would have a suffix that we'd use this suffix on the verb. So yesterday's lesson covered the top half of this paradigm here, and today's lesson will cover the bottom half here. So we will learn what prefixes and suffixes are needed for the we exclusive, the we inclusive, the you plural, and the third person plural. All right, so let's move on. Let's learn this stuff. So pronoun prefixes. It's important to remember our rules from the previous lesson about pronoun prefixes, because for this lesson, essentially we're just attaching suffixes to the end of our verbs. Let's refresh what those rules are for our prefixes. So pronoun prefix, refresh. Singular pronouns are our n sound or n, g prefixes, or ndo and gdo prefixes. They represent I or me, n or ndo, and the you, g or gdo. Except for extended pronoun do, they attach to the front of the verb or the tense marker if there's a tense marker present. VTI words that begin with a vowel sound need to use a D sound in between the N or G sound and the verb. So for example, we talked about opdopton yesterday, or in the last lesson, and how it needed a D sound in between the N or G sound. So what are plural pronouns? So we're going to have our singular pronoun prefixes over here, So we have, when we have a verb for first person singular, 1 PS, I or me, it's ndo or n in front of our verb. Second person singular, that's the you. We have a gdo or g in front of our verb. Third person singular doesn't have any prefix. So you would just have the verb on its own pretty much. Except for the VTI ones, you'd extend their an ending to a double an ending for all three of these inflections. So now the plural suffixes that go along with each of these prefixes. So keep in mind that these prefixes are color coded for a certain reason. So the blue is for the I or me, red is for the you, and yellow is for the she or he. So first person plural, that's the we exclusive. That's when you're excluding whomever you're directly talking to. So like we but not you did this. We would have n and do in front of our verb, our VTI, and then we'd have a min ending at the end of our VTI word. So that's how we do first person plural, we exclusive. Next is the we inclusive. And so we would attach a g or gdo in front, and then we would attach the min suffix at the end. And so this is the 2 to 1 person pronoun, the we inclusive, is purple because it includes both the first person and the second person. Oh, sorry, reverse that. So the first person and the second person. Now moving on to the second person plural. It's in red, just like our second person singular, and it is expressed with the suffix awa. So we would use a gdo or g in front of our VTI word, and then we would end it with an awa sound for second person plural, the you all. So talking about a group, like a group of people doing something. So you all are doing this, you all are doing that. Next is the third person plural. So we wouldn't attach a prefix at the end. We would just attach a suffix awa. So that awa would illustrate you're talking about a group of people external to those participants in your conversation. They or them are doing stuff over there. So first person plural, we exclusive VTI inflections. So here is our inflection paradigm right here, n or ndo in front, VTI, then min. And then we're going to have some sample sentence examples over on this side here. So VTI1, we're going to use VTI-aawaan, open it. Notice that N has been grayed there. So we have VTI-aawaan. So notice that yellow there is from our third person. So we extended that single A to double A. And then we replaced that N sound with a min. And we attached an N sound on the front of that. So we have our prefix and our suffix. So VTI-aawaan means we are opening the box. Oh, sorry. We are opening the boxes in VTI-aawaan imkuk. So we got imkuk, which means the box. Next one, we've got optoptone, which means untie it. And so again, this N at the end has been grayed so that we replace it with our suffix. And keep in mind, this has a vowel, it starts with a vowel sound. So we attach our N sound to the front, and then that D protects the verb there. So in doptopto, replace that N sound with our suffix min. In doptoptone, or in doptopto min. So our example sentence is, we are untying the shoe. I'm going to give you a few seconds to translate this one on your own, and then we will take it up in a second. All right, so let's take it up there now. So we would take this word here in doptoptomin, followed by our pronoun I, and then the word for shoe, mkizin. So we'd have ndop dop to min kizin, just like that. Next, we're moving on to our VTI-3s here. So we have nod in, fetch it, and notice that the I and N has been grayed, so we're going to replace that with our suffix. So again, we're going to attach an N sound to the front, min to the end, and we should get do nod min. So remember, nod in starts with an N sound, and we're adding an N prefix, so it's better to add the extended pronoun. Do nod min. And we replace that IN there with the min. So I'll give you a chance to translate we are fetching the box. You should have all the tools you need to translate that right on the screen right now. All right, so let's take that up. We are fetching the box. So we would say do nod min imkuk. Right there, do nod min imkuk. And our VTI-4s. So we're going to use yan. Remember, it has one of those secret vowel sounds in front. And it means have it. So we're going to have to do something similar to opt tone to yan. So we're going to attach our N sound with a D, bring that A back, and replace that N sound there with a min sound. So we should have min. There we go. min. So our example sentence here is we have the box. So using the information on the screen here, I want you to translate we have the box. I'm going to give you a few seconds to come up with that on your own. All right, so we have the box. That when we translate that to Ojibwe, it should be inanimate imkuk. Right there. So inanimate imkuk. So that was our first person plural. Now we're moving on to 2-to-1 person. So it's the we inclusive. So same thing as before. We're gonna have our grammatical explanation here, and then some sample sentences, and then I'm gonna give you a chance to try and translate these on your own. So we're gonna use the VTI-1 gabak one, which means close it. So this is a G sound in front. So we can either do a double G with a K or use our extended pronoun gado. For this one, I'm gonna use the extended pronoun. And then we're going to attach a min to where this gray N is located. And because it's a VTI-1, we're going to extend that that last A sound to a double A sound. So we should have gadog bakwa min. There we go. Gadog bakwa min. So that's how we say we all are closing it. And our example sentence, we all are closing the box. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to translate that on your own. All right. So we all are closing the box. That should be translated as gadog bakwa min imkuk. Gadog bakwa min imkuk. And that's what we got here. Gadog bakwa min imkuk. Moving on to our VTI-2. So we have up top tone. Again, vowel sound in front, gray N, so we're going to get rid of that for the suffix. So it should say Gdop dop to min. Right there. Gdop top to min. And then we're going to have our example sentence. We all are untying the shoe. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to come up with that translation. All right. So our translation for this sentence is Gdop dop to min im kizin. If that's what you said, good job. Let's move on to our VTI-3. So our VTI-3 is not in. So we're going to replace that IN sound with a min sound. Going to attach a g or gdo in front. So we should have gnad min. There we go. Gnad min. And our example sentence to translate. We all are fetching the box. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that on your own. All right. So your sentence should be Gnad min im kuk. Gnad min im kuk. We all are fetching the box. And our VTI-4s. Again, we don't have much selection with these, so we're just going to use yawn. So it has that secret vowel sound in front, and then we're going to replace that N with the prefix. So you should have G'dayamin. G'dayamin. And then our example sentence. We all have the box. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that. All right. So we all have the box. If you translate it as G'dayamin im kuk, great job. That's what I like to hear. All right. So we covered our 2-to-1 person, the we inclusive. We're going to move on to our second person plural now. So like we said before, we're going to be using a lot of these same prefixes and then changing up our suffixes. So second person plural, that's the you all. We're going to have a g or gdo in front and then an awa at the end of our verb. So we're going to use gabakwan again for close it. So for you all are closing it, we should be writing gdog bakwa nawa. Gdog bakwa nawa. Just like that. Gdog bakwa nawa. So that's how we would say you all are closing it. So how would we say you all are closing the box? So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that. All right. So your sentence should be Gdog bakwanawa imkuk. Gdog bakwanawa imkuk. For you all are closing the box. Next one, our VTI-2, up top tone. So notice how these ends haven't been grayed. It's because we're we're reusing them in our inflections. So we're just going to attach aawaas at the end there and gdos, or in this case, gd, to this front of the verb. So we should have gdop dop tonawa, gdop top tonawa, and that's for you all are untying it. So how would we say you all are untying the shoe? All right, if you said gdop dop tonawa im kizin, good job. Let's move on. So VTI 3s, nod in, fetch it. And notice how we have that I grayed out. So this is what we're going to be dropping from our speech here. And so we're just going to continue to add awa to the end there and omit that I. So again, get or gado in front. And then, so it should say gnad nawa. There we go. Gnad nawa. And so we're going to translate this sentence here. You all are fetching the box. So how would we say you all are fetching the box? You should have everything you need to translate this on screen right now. All right. So let's move on to you all are fetching the box. So it should be translated as Gnad na wa imkuk. Gnad na wa imkuk. Moving on to our VTI 4. Again, yan, not much selection here. So we should have, can never forget that secret vowel sound at the beginning there. So we should have Gdaya na wa. Gdaya na wa. Right there. Gdaya na wa. So our sentence here, you all have the box. So how do we translate that? You all have the box. All right, so let's take up that translation. You all have the box should be translated as Gdaya na wa imkuk. Gdaya na wa imkuk. So that's our second person plural. Moving on to our third person plural here. So third person plurals, they are them. So we're just adding awa to the end of our verbs. No more prefixes. So our VTI-aawaan, jeakwan. So remember, we got to extend that single A to a double A and then add the suffix awa. So again, this N hasn't been grayed, so we're going to keep it. So jeakwanawa. So that means they are opening it. Jeakwanawa. So how we say the men are opening the box. So the men are opening the box. All right. So the men are opening the box. Your translation should reflect Ninwak jeakwanawa imkuk. Ninwak jeakwanawa imkuk. So our VTI2s, up top tone, untie it. So we're just taking the verb, adding awa to the end. Optoptonawa. So how would we say the men are untying the shoe? I'll give you a few seconds to translate on your own. Pardon that sneeze. All right, so the men are untying the shoe. Your translation should be Ninwak optoptonawa imkizin. Right there. Ninwak optonawa imkizin. Moving on to our VTI 3. Nod in, fetch it. And we have this I that's been grayed out. So we're gonna omit this from our speech. So we should have nod na wa. There we go. Nod na wa. So our sentence we're going to be translating is the men are fetching the box. I'll give you a few seconds to translate. All right. So the men are fetching the box. Your translation should be Ninwak nod na wa imkuk. Ninwak nod na wa imkuk. Moving on to our VTI 4. So we have yan, have it. And notice how our initial A sound has been grayed out. So we're not even going to use this because we're not attaching a prefix to it at all. So we can omit this A from our speech. So we should have ya na wa. Ya na wa. So our example translation. The men have the box. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that one on your own. All right, so the men have the box should be Nidwak yana wa imkuk. Nidwak yana wa imkuk. So now we get into the question of what if the inanimate object is pluralized for our we sentences. All you gotta do, number 1, change the singular pronoun I to its plural version ni. And follow the necessary pluralizing protocols for the inanimate nouns. So whatever plural suffix the inanimate noun has, attach it to the inanimate noun. Both we inflections do not have a plural suffix for, if the inanimate noun is pluralized. So you don't have to change the verb at all. Just change that I to a ni, and then you pluralize your inanimate noun. So for example here, so we're using VTI-aawaan and VTI-aawaan. So we are opening the boxes. So if you followed our rules, the translation for this one, we are opening the boxes, should be VTI-aawaan nim kakan. So we got VTI-aawaan nim kakan. So we didn't add any extra suffix to our verb, just changed that I to a ni and added our plural suffix to our inanimate noun. So moving on to optoptone. So we have indoptoptomin. So our sentence here is we are untying the shoes. So how would you say we are untying the shoes in Ojibwe? All right, so let's take that up. So we're going to translate we are untying the shoes. And dop dop tomin nim kisnan. And dop dop tomin nim kisnan. So again, just ne and un at the end. So nod in, fetch it. And do nod min. So we are fetching the boxes. How do we translate that? All right, so your translation should be do nod min nim kakan. Do nod min nim kakan. We are fetching the boxes. Our VTI-4. In min. We have the boxes. So how do we say we have the boxes? If you said in min nim kakan, good job. That's exactly what we want to hear. In min nim kakan. Moving on to our we inclusives. So same patterns as before. So Gedog bakwamin. Gedog bakwamin. So how would we say we all are closing the boxes? I'll give you a couple seconds. All right. So we all are closing the boxes. You should have translated as Gedog bakwa min nim kakan. Gedog bakwa min nim kakan. So we're just changing that I to a ne and mkuk to mkuk un. Next, VTI2, opt op tone. So we're going to use gedop dop tone min. We all are untying the shoes. All right. So we all are untying the shoes. You should have translated as gedop dop tone min nim kisnan. Gedop dop tone min nim kisnan. Next, we're going to move on to our VTI3. Nod in. So we're going to use gnod min. And our sentence is we all are fetching the boxes. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that. All right. So our translation should be gnod min nim kakan. Gnod min nim kakan. Moving on to our VTI4. So it's yan. It's our example. And our inflection is gedaya min. Gedaya min. So our sentence we're going to translate is we all have the boxes. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that. We all have the boxes. All right. So your translation should be G'dayamin Nimkakan. G'dayamin Nimkakan. We all have the boxes. So now we're changing things up. So what if the inanimate object is pluralized for our second person plural and third person plural sentences? So we're still going to replace our I sound, our I pronoun with its plural version, ni. And then follow the necessary pluralizing protocols for the inanimate nouns, so they all have their specific pluralizing suffixes to use. And then for our verbs, for both second person plural and third person plural, we're just incorporating an N suffix at the end of our awa suffix. So awa plus N will equal aawaan. So second person plural inflections, I'm using gabakwan. So we're going to use gadogbakwanawaan. So it's been pluralized there. So it's been pluralized for us here. So you all are closing the boxes. How do we translate that? I'll give you a few seconds. All right. So you all are closing the boxes. Should be translated as gadogbakwanawaan nimkakan. So we're just adding that N at the end, change that I to an I, and pluralizing our inanimate noun. Moving on to up top tone. So we're going to attach the G in front, and then that D sound protects the verb, and then we're adding the suffix aawaan. So gdop top aawaan, gdop top aawaan. So that's you all are untying the shoes. So how would we translate that? You all are untying the shoes. All right. So your sentence should be Gdop top aawaan nimkisnan. So gdop top aawaan nimkisnan. You all are untying the shoes. Next, nod in. So we're going to drop that I sound, attach a G sound in front, and add an aawaan at the end. So we should have gnod naawaan, gnod naawaan. And then our sample sentence. You all are fetching the boxes. So you should have everything on screen to translate that. So let's hear it. All right. So our translation should be Gnad naawaan nimkakan. Gnad naawaan nimkakan. Moving on to our last verb. So we have an A in front. So we have a G and then a D sound and then a. G'dayan and then an aawaan. So G'dayan aawaan. Just like so. G'dayan aawaan. Then our sentence to translate. You all have the boxes. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate. All right. So the translation should say VTI-aawaan nimkakan. VTI-aawaan nimkakan. You all have the boxes. So we're moving on to our last inflection here, third person plural, with an plural inanimate object. So again, we're just adding awa to the end and an end sound, aawaan. So we have our VTI-aawaan, jaakwan. So we're going to extend that A sound to an A sound. So it should say jaakwan-aawaan. Just like that. Jaakwan-aawaan. So our example sentence, the men are opening the boxes. So I'll leave that for you guys to translate. All right. So translating the men are opening the boxes, you should have ninwak jaakwan-aawaan nimkakan. So we have ninwak jaakwan-aawaan nimkakan. VTI2 optopton, untie it. So our verb inflection is optopton-aawaan. And our example sentence is the men are untying the shoes. So I'll give you a few seconds to translate that as well. All right. So our translation should say Ninwak optopton-aawaan nimkisnan. Ninwag optopton-aawaan nimkisnan. Now we're doing our VTI 3s, not in. So we're going to omit that I sound. And we should have nod-na-waan. Nod-na-waan. So how do we say the men are fetching the boxes? All right. So your translations should be Ninwak nod-na-waan nimkakan. Ninwag nod-na-waan nimkakan. And our last one today, VTI4, yan. So because we're not adding any prefixes, we don't have to use that short A sound at the beginning of the word. So it's yan-aawaan. So the men have the boxes. How would we say that? All right. So the last translation should be Ninwag yan-aawaan nimkakan. The men have the boxes. Ninwug, VTI-aawaan, nimkakun. So lesson recap. Finally made it. So today's lesson built on our previous lesson's prefixes by adding suffixes to our VTI words in order to pluralize our pronouns. So first person plural, the we exclusive, we just added an N, VTI word, then a min. 2 to 1 person, the we inclusive, just added a ge, VTI, then a min. Second person plural, the you all, ge, VTI-aawaan. Third person plural, they or them, just VTI and then aawaan. So the we inflections don't have a plural suffix for the inanimate objects. So second person plural, if they were doing an action, or if you all were doing an action to something pluralized, it would be ge, VTI-aawaan. And then if a group of people were doing an action to something, to a bunch of objects, inanimate objects, third person plural, they or them, they would have the suffix aawaan at the end. So, miigwech bin bsindwe yegminna misaye aja. Thanks again for listening to me today. And that's it for today. So moving on to our worksheet there, so you know what's expected of you there. All right, so we have a classic de-scrambler, but this one is for our VTI words that we've been using in this unit. So we need to descramble this one here. Oops. It's got a GANANAWDBA. So which one of our verbs has all those letters? The one I can think of off the top of my head is a GN. So G. Sorry. GN. I'm sorry, it won't let me. So GN. A, gna, W, A, B, D, A, and then our last N there. Gonna wop done. So that one, that's how we do that. So we descramble these letters to form our VTI words. This one is gna done. So these are all in command forms, or not command forms, but the singular command form that we were introduced to them as. Next one, fill in the blank. So these are singular pronoun sentences. So we need the Ojibwe here in English to match up. So this first part says, I want to. So to make it an I am sentence, we need an N sound in front. And I gotta do this the hard way here. N. Put that right there. So I want to, gonna wab don on, nimzinig n. So gonna wab don on, I want to. So gonna wab don. If you don't remember that word, you can always look it up in the dictionary. So gonna wab don means look at something. So I want to look at the books. So the books has been pluralized, but the noun hasn't yet. So we just need to add the plural suffix, which is an. If you don't know the plural suffix, you can always look up the singular version, zinnigan. And then in brackets, right next to the word, it'll have the plural suffix. So we're just filling these out as is. So if you don't know what verb to fill out, I would suggest looking at the English side. All right, so I'll leave these for you guys to do on your own. match the Ojibwe pronouns to the linguistic symbols. So we have neen here. So if you don't know what neen is, go back in our notes. Let's see here. So neen is, I don't have them in this lesson here. You should have them in your notes or should be familiar. So neen is first person. That's I or me. And I or me is the first person singular. So this is first person plural, third person singular, second person singular, the 2-to-1, second person plural, first person singular, F. There we go. I'll put an F here. Cross it out so you don't use it later. So that's all you got to do for this section here. All right. So what's the difference in morphology between third person singular and third person plural Nishnaabemwin inflections? Hint, suffixes. So when we're inflecting our verbs, what's the difference between third person singular and the plural version? So we can go back to our lesson here. So third person singular doesn't have a prefix or suffix. Third person plural, however, has a suffix. So we can write that in here. So third person plural would use the suffix awa or aawaan, depending on inanimate plurality. What's the difference in morphology between second person singular and second person plural Nishnaabemwin inflections? So hint, what's the suffixes we're using? So again, you can go back to this one. So second person singular would just use git or gado in front, whereas second person plural would use git and gado in front, as well as an awa or aawaan. So I'll leave that for you guys to fill out there. What's the difference in morphology between first person singular and first person plural? Again, first person singular just using in or indo in front, and then first person plural uses in or indo in front and then a min at the end. And then what's the difference between first person plural and 2-to-1 person? So this one here, we're just doing first person plural. So first person plural has an n or indo in front, then a min, whereas 2-to-1 person has a git or gado in front and then a min. So you can just fill that in here. Next we have Akhenaten Westne Ejajagna Shimyan. So that's translating these into English. So we're using our knowledge from today to translate these words. So we got an do in front, and then we got a gnawab da min indob jibwiginan. So we have an extended pronoun in front of a noun here. So that means that we're doing some sort of ownership stuff. And then so we have an do in front, that's I, and then inan, that would be the pluralized version of I. So that's the first person plural, that's the we inclusive. So again, we have do in front, gnawab dan, and then a min. So we learned that min is our plural suffix here for our pronoun. So do gnawab da min. So that means we are, and then gnawab dan means looking at, and then indobjibwigninan. So we know that this is our prefix and our suffix here. So what we're left with is this is our noun. So if you don't remember that, consult our ownership lesson. So bjibwign. I'm sure if we just drop that N sound at the end, we could find, the rest of this word here. So let's just command copy that one without the N to our dictionary. Let's see what pops up. So bjibwig, and then it's got a short A sound and an N, so that's why it got deleted. So spear. So we are looking at our spear. Boom, that's it. Indog nawab dam in indobjib indobjibwigninan. So we are looking at our spear. So I'll leave the rest of these for you guys to do on your own. Next part, Akanotan wasne Nishnaabemwin. So translating these into Ojibwe. So the women are using their pencils. So we have the women, which is kwe, that's woman. But if we pluralize it, let me get up in the dictionary here. Woman, plural is kwe, but pluralized with wug at the end. Kwe wug. And so the verb is they are using. So what's the verb for using? So we need to use something, and it's objetone. Objetone. So objetone. So this is a third person plural sentence, so we just need our third person plural suffix. Wa. Let's take a look at our noun if it's pluralized. So it's pencils. And so when it's pluralized, remember, we just add an N, aawaan, to our verb. All right, so are using their pencils. So our I is singular, but ne is plural for our pronoun here. The word for pencil. So word for pencil, jabig natig. Jabig natig. And then we need to make it their pencils because it's their, like they own it. So I again go back to that lesson if you don't remember the prefixes and suffixes for ownership. For this one, to make it third person plural ownership, we add the suffix wan. So there we go. So kwe wag opchitona wan ne jabigna tigwan. So the women are using their pencils. There we go. So using a variety of VTI words, make make two of your own third person, second person, first person plural, and 2-to-1 person sentences. All right. So you're just gonna do either one or the or that. You're just gonna inflect the verbs in either or. So I'm gonna do a couple examples for you here to show you what's expected. So let's go with space blank VTI space search. So let's pick one for me to use. Yeah. Let's look. Oh, no, not that one. Let's see here. So much to choose from. Let's go with find. Mkun. All right. So let's come up with some English to say first. So let's go with the men want to find the, let's go with spear. The men want to find the spear. So our word for men is nene. And then it's pluralized with wug, but we gotta get rid of that I because we're third last consonant rule. So ninwug. And then want to find. So want to is our indefinite future suffix. We. And then our verb con. Remember, we're extending that single A in our VTI-aawans to double A. Then we need our suffix for third person plural. Wa. Now the spear is singular, so we just need I. And then our word for spear. Bjibwigun. Bjibwigun. Alright, so that's one. Alright, we're going to use the same one. Kun. So, put in our English here. Did you all find the spear? We're going to make a question this time. So did you all? So, did you all find? So that sounds past tense to me. So I'm going to put our past tense marker here. Gi. Then our verb con, and then again extend that A to double A, just like in our lesson. Mkanawa. Na, because it's a question, second position here. And then our word for the spear is jibwigun. Boom. There you go. So I've done 2 examples here for you guys in third person plural, second person plural. You can do other pronouns for these other examples here. So you can select a VTI-2, VTI-3, and a VTI-4 and do these all on your own. Aha, miigwech, for participating in this lesson again. Again, I want to put in the link to the dictionary in the description of this video, as well as links to access the PDF and Microsoft Word versions of this worksheet. And also too, I'm going to put in links to access some audio files for you guys to transcribe and translate to work on your listening skills, and then write out the words and then translate them. So practicing what you learned today in a more in another avenue. Aha, miigwech, bamapi.